And hey everyone, I just had to look down there to make sure, because last week we switched it around and we had Sander in place of Cliff, so I just had to make sure that it switched me to the right scene, and it did. So welcome to another episode of IoTeaLive with myself, Pete Gallagher, or Pete_codes on Twitter, and then to my like right or left, depending on which way you want to look at it, is Cliff Agius. Hello, Cliff.
Hey everyone.
Cliff Agius is at Cliff Agius, so that's quite an easy one. In fact, weirdly, I noticed on the scene it was saying at Cliff Agius 1. So I don't know how long it's actually been saying that, but some other imposter called Cliff Agius 1 may well have been getting all of your follows on that. I don't know how long it's been like that. I need to go back and check. It may have just been.
I wonder if there is a Cliff Agius 1 on Twitter. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. And then to Cliff's right or left, depending on which position you want to look at, is the fabulous Maria-Anastasia. Hello, Maria-Anastasia.
Hello.
And you are Maria Moo _7, which is like, is it _7? Is that like right, or is that? I'm just checking now. Is that your right Twitter handle? Maria Moo _7.
You got him worried now.
Yeah, I got to double check these things, because people will be going, I can't follow this person, or that person lives in Latin America and it definitely isn't Maria-Anastasia. Things like that. So yeah, you got to be careful. So I was just saying before we went live on air, I've not got all that many links this evening. I've got enough, like 20, but that's like maybe two-thirds of what I'd normally have. So we were saying that we'll actually allow Maria-Anastasia to get off to bed, because by the time we finish it, what will be our time at 10 p.m. BST, I think that's 12 a.m. for Maria-Anastasia, isn't it? So it's starting to get late, and every week I'm impressed with how awake that Maria-Anastasia manages to be in another language, bearing in mind that English isn't your first language, is it? Greek would be.
It's not mine either.
So, no, not at this time of night, most certainly.
I struggle with binary. I get confused over that. Right.
Yeah, just phonetics. That's even a bit difficult. Kids are better
I can do the phonetic alphabet.
You better be able to.
I suppose I should be good at that, really.
Yeah, there'd be trouble. I see.
Hey,
Johnny Chips is actually here.
Andy's in the chat. Johnny's in the chat, and we got a new one, Flowlight, which I've not seen before. Hey, Flowlight.
Yeah, hi. How's it going? I called out Johnny Chips specifically because Johnny Chips is usually on like the M5 on his way to Cardiff or something like that. I forget what the road is. It ends up being on at this time of night. So either he's driving and texting, or he's managed to slack off tonight or something. So
Or he's stuck in traffic.
So maybe
traffic.
That's always a possibility. I'll be coming down your way, or directionally speaking, not into Wales. To Devon very soon, so I'll wave across the bridge to you. Go down there. Yeah, no trip today. Someone broke his collarbone. Ow!
Get well soon. That hurts.
Yeah, that takes a little while, because there's nothing you can do with it other than sort of put your arm in a sling, is there? It's like, oh, jeez.
I fractured mine when I was a teenager. Didn't break it. It was a hairline fracture. Right. But yeah, so
vicious,
painful.
Yeah. So you pair, what news have you got?
Nothing. Busy.
Yes.
Yeah, doing some work in the house, fitting some underfloor heating. And today the tiles arrived, all 1.4 tons of them.
Jeez.
We're doing the whole downstairs of the house, and it may sound like it's big, but it's not. It's just the tiles are really heavy, which Mrs. A has picked, and the guy gladly delivered them with his forklift truck onto my drive and waved goodbye. And I was humping these tiles. Each box weighed 30 kilos, and there was 50 boxes. So it was So I'm a bit worn out and tired. But other than that, looking forward to the. I'm sure we'll talk about it later, but the IoT into the air event thingy we're doing on November the 15th.
Indeed.
Yeah, I'm sure Pete will cover that with some stuff later. Other than that, I've been. I had a quick brief chat with someone at AWS IoT this morning. It was Interesting. He used to work for Microsoft. He's moved across to AWS. I'll not give away a name, and just in case he doesn't want it sort of said on air. But he's just joined AWS about 3 weeks ago, so he's still trying to understand it as well
Right.
as the what's available. And he's worked in IoT before, but he didn't work in IoT at Microsoft. But
Okay.
he's moved across there. And yeah, so I was chatting to him about what's available in AWS land for us IoT peeps. He's going to share some information with me, which I'll share with you, because it's nice to know what the team on the other side are doing as well, just so we can see what's good, what's bad. Do we need to push Microsoft to be better in certain areas, or do we need to up sticks and go over to AWS land? Yeah, it's lots of odd names that have their things which don't really tell you like what they are.
Yeah, what the hell is
Lambdas.
green grass? What the hell is that green grass? I mean, what kind of a
Yeah,
name
I
for a
know.
service is
Yeah,
that?
green grass. What was the other names I wrote down? Site-wise, IoT site-wise, don't know what that is. Green grass. What was the other one they kept going on about? I can't remember what it was now. Another one as well. Kinesis.
Oh, kinesis, yeah. Ugh,
Yeah, I have no idea what that is. That was a new name on me today. But yeah, it's so yeah. I'm just interested in finding out of what's different, because sometimes there's better ways of doing things, and if you don't look at what is being done elsewhere, you won't know what to sort of try and improve and make better here. So yeah, that's the plan. Other than that, yeah, it's just busy trying to keep up with projects and things going on around the world. How about you, Maria-Anastasia? How's life in Greece? Don't mention the
Um,
beach. Don't mention the sunshine because it's been raining here, and we don't want to know. So
Today here it was a rainy day that is very unusual for Greece and especially for roads. And I have to mention that today is Ada Lovelace Day. Ada was the first
cool.
yeah,
uh, programmer. So we celebrate this day to empower women in STEM field.
yep,
So we have to mention that.
yes. I completely
Definitely.
forgot that, and I'm surprised I've not seen it on Twitter
Oh no!
today.
Whoops!
Um,
What we're doing?
I must admit, I've not been very
Sorry.
sort of much using Twitter today, but I'm surprised there wasn't something out there. Because yeah, it's a big day as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
So she's effectively the first programmer. We
Yeah,
all
that
stem
that
from her and her
her
work.
story's really interesting. She worked with Charles Babbage actually. She translated one of his talks that he did back in the day about his counting machine into another language. And while she was doing that, while she was doing the translation, she figured out some ways that she could improve his code. And so she wrote a bunch of notes on this translation and sent them to him. And he said, "Oh, that's a really cool idea." But she was also, I think she was also working before that on, they were making these lace machines and there were card fed lace machines. So you put a pattern on a card and it kind of stopped needles in some places and not in others. It was really clever, but it was like punch cards. It was the predecessors to punch cards. So some of the stuff that she was working on, she was a highly talented mathematician as well, I think. I think her dad, I forget what his name was now, crazy guy. He was a mathematician possibly or something like that. But yeah, she's got quite a fascinating story actually.
Like 1846, I seem to remember the year.
Maybe.
Charles Babbage. I think I'd need to Google it. I'm pretty certain it was 1846. Don't know why that date is stuck in my head. I've given talks at schools before about computers and things like that. And I remember having a slide, and you ask what is the first computer, and everyone comes up with an Apple or something like that, and Steve Jobs or the original Apple or what's the other one? A lot of people come up with Atari, Spectrum.
Yeah.
They say things like that, which is not even what they're kind of late 70s, early 80s machines. But yeah, and then no one comes up then beyond that. But then this is at school, but even to teenagers, I've given this talk. But yeah, I point out the Charles Babbage, and
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a funny topic that actually, because if you go to the National Museum of Computing, which is fantastic, by the way, we as MVPs and the like, we are big fans of TMNOC, the National Museum of Computing down there at Bletchley Park, and you listen to the people that talk about Colossus, and they will tell you the difference between actually a mechanical computer and an actual computer, whereas something like the bomb, the code breaking machine for the Enigma code, and then onwards Colossus, are single program machines essentially, so that their job is to do what that job is. They're not really reprogrammable machines. It was a while, I think. I can't remember if Colossus was actually reprogrammable, but certainly the bomb definitely wasn't. It did its job and that was it. I don't think it was. I think the Colossus did exactly that as well. So you can't really call them proper computers, not until way later when we're able to actually write code. Actually, one of the first programming languages...
That's one of the things from the Turing test, isn't it? Is the fact that it can be... Isn't that one of the kind of Turing things about computers? The fact that it needs to be able to be reprogrammable and carry out kind of things... I'm
not sure. I think the Turing test is whether you can tell the difference between a human and a person based on a series of questions.
He defined the computer as well, didn't he?
I think he probably did.
I can't remember what the definition was now, but yeah.
Yeah. I love that whole time. I mean, you walk around Bletchley Park and TMNOC, and it's fantastic. Such a learning. You can go multiple times and still learn new things while you're going down there. Just trying to learn how the bomb works. It's way more complicated than you actually imagine, and certainly parts of the Imagination game, I think it's called, the film with what's his face in it, is fantastic, and there's quite a lot of accuracy in that, quite a lot of non-accuracy as well, but certainly the bits about that diagonal thing on the plug board at the back, that's accurate to be able to cancel out this thing. But yeah, there's a talk on YouTube actually of how the bomb works, and there's this really complicated set of joining combinations of letters together and trying to be able to go round in a circle or reach dead ends, and then and that's how the machine actually works, by eliminating certain parts of the puzzle. But yeah, it's quite a complicated machine actually, a lot more complicated than they make out it is in that film anyway. I'm fiddling down here with the computer because two different reasons. One is at the moment the title of this stream is Johnny Chips in conversation with Mike Pfeiffer, which obviously isn't correct. So what you'd think is I could just change it. But at the same time, for some reason, the keyboard on my Surface Pro 4 down here has decided that it's not going to work. And so I lifted it up and detached it and put it back on again, and I changed the stream while I was doing it there a minute ago, so apologies for that. So, yeah, that's cool. If I could get that to work, it would be... No, it's still not changed, though, because I can't actually get the keyboard to work anymore. Because it seems to have gone up the Swanee. Let's try again now. No. See, it's lighting up, but it's not actually letting me move... Oh, no, something moved there a minute ago, but... Oh, right, it's temporarily work. Oh, no, it's not. I got one delete to work. I think part of the problem is maybe I need to turn the speed up on the processor. Anyway, go on, Cliff. You were saying.
I was just going to say it looks like it's not just Johnny. I'll put my teeth back in. Johnny Chips' son. Looks like Andy's had. I'm just reading back in the stream. The chat. He's had a bit of a injury to his arm as well. Yeah. Bad ladder fall while adding CCTV. Yeah. Well, the question is, did the CCTV catch you falling? Did you fall backwards from the camera? That's what I want to know, and you're going to share the video. Yeah.
I fixed it, by the way. The stream should actually be updated now, so it should look like it's the right thing. So we were plagiarising Johnny Chips, but he's here. He doesn't mind.
He's here, so that's okay. He doesn't mind because we're just sharing the love, And it doesn't look like it's updated yet, but
No. I've pressed done, so it should be okay. So Johnny Chips is asking.
Johnny's got a question.
He has, actually. Yeah. So if you if you had two IoT hubs registered 2 IoT Hub registered devices, 1 a client and 1 a server. What would you say would be a good mechanism to send messages, invoke methods from client to server by desired properties or via direct methods? Keen to hear what you think the pros and cons of each. Right, client is now. You have to get your domain language correct here, Johnny. So what you often have is you have an IoT device and then an IoT service. And the service would connect to the IoT hub with a privilege that would allow it to be able to monitor messages that reach the built-in endpoint on the IoT hub. And a device that has the facility to be able to send messages up to the IoT hub and receive messages back and direct method calls and receive updates to its own twin. So you've got that for the device. And then the service that can send messages as a service to the IoT hub to a device, essentially. So the IoT hub is a mediator there. And likewise, you can invoke methods on the device via the IoT hub, and you can also receive messages or monitor messages that are being sent to the IoT hub. But as a service, you can do that for any device, essentially, not just the one device. So it's the service's responsibility then to monitor messages for the specific device that you're talking about. So that's how I would define the domains for that. But I'm just going to reread your question then and try fit that domain language around what it is you're doing.
I think what he's saying, he's got 2 devices, and he wants one to be a client, i.e. sending data up, and the other one to be a server, which I'm assuming he's like getting that to receive messages to maybe turn on a motor or a light or something like this.
Yeah, so you'd have a service in the... So if you've got essentially two registered devices, and maybe, for argument's sake, let's say that one's got a button and the other one's got an LED, and you want to be able to press the button on one and turn the LED on the other. So what would happen is you would when you press the button on one device, it would send a device-to-cloud message to the IoT hub. Then you would have a service in the middle that would then receive that message and send then a direct method call down to the device that wants to light the LED up to say turn on the light. You could do that with device twins as well, but I mean it just depends on if it's like if
it's only 2 devices though. Surely it'd be well. Actually, I was going to say it'd be easier just use an Azure function, but then
that's what you'd use in the middle. Your service would be an Azure function that would just be sitting there and would be triggered by... You can trigger off Event Hub messages from the IoT Hub. So if there's a good doc for that of how to trigger an Azure function directly from the Event Hub underneath the IoT Hub. So you react to those messages and then you just look from which device it is and what the message is, and then you invoke a direct method. I mean, I'd say invoke a direct method. If you imagine it's actually a button and a doorbell, then it's a command, isn't it? But if it's your state needs to be on because maybe it's like an AC and it's going to be on all day, that kind of would lend itself more to device twins rather than direct methods. But either of those two messaging mechanisms from the service up connected to the IoT hub down is fine. They will both work. I prefer direct methods it depends on whether you want a feedback mechanism as well, because it might be that you want to make sure that the device reacts to that and gives you a feedback mechanism, and you can do that with device twins by looking at the reported properties, but I like direct methods and device to cloud messages. So good. It seems as though he has understood my janky terminology there, but I think it's okay. And in fact, you can see some of this actually if you come along to Knots IoT on Thursday at 6:30 p.m. BST. Then John Staveley, who's another fantastic MVP, is going to talk to us about just a leveling ground of IoT for C# developers. He's got a little web app that he's made in Blazor that he runs on his phone, and he's able to turn LEDs and lights and solenoids on and off from his phone using Azure IoT Hub and a Blazor server application. And the Blazor server application is acting as this service. But obviously he's only then got one device, but you could then expand this to send messages to a second device. So you'll see some of the code, and it's all on GitHub. So I recommend you come along and watch that. That's this Thursday. So I don't know, is that your Welsh Azure user group? Is that same night? I don't know. If not, then do.
Catch up.
In fact, I'll just get the link and put it in the chat. Because not IoT. I feel like I don't promote the our meetups enough. And Cliff, it's about time, and Maria-Anastasia, it's about time you pair started a meetup. Eh? You could have a southern IoT meetup.
I've considered doing one, but it's difficult getting I suppose at the moment when it's online it's easier, but you've got to kind of think for the future of where you'd host it. Yeah. So Johnny Chits, I'm playing with Unity server to make a call to turn on less on a client device. No, I mean you might be able to, LED. All right, turn on LED on a client device. So he's using Unity server to make a call. Okay, that's what you're doing there. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think as Pete described then, using an Azure function as a service would work quite well. Yeah, that's probably how I'd do it anyway.
Yeah, you've got to have a service in the middle. The devices are delineated or firewalled from each other. So one device can't talk to another device directly. You have to have a service in the middle. That's just going to be what you've got to do. That's the link, by the way, up there. Look to the Knots IoT event that I'm talking about. It's well worth checking that one out. John Staveley is a great speaker, and he'll talk a little bit about how he's made a bird watching device with that same piece of kit as well. So he's got a camera attached to that. So it's scary as I'm starting to understand it all now. Johnny, you're one of these people that does understand things remarkably fast, and Paul DiCarlo will attest to exactly that as well. So
yeah,
it helps that you've got a certain amount of knowledge behind you, even though you play that down quite a lot. So it's good. Maria-Anastasia, have you done much with IoT hubs and stuff like that? I can't remember seeing if you've done that or not.
Sorry, I
Azure
understand.
Azure IoT hubs. Have you played with them? Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit.
Cool. How did you find it? Was it okay?
Yeah, and today, because the plural site, it's
Free
a
week.
free week. Yeah, I went and checked your class, and you.
they're very good.
Yeah, you're very good. Your voice, you are fantastic.
Oh. Oh, lovely. Thank you. That was lovely of you to say. I've just released a couple of updates to a couple of them courses as well. So I was going to put the link. No, I don't want to create a link. I was going to put a link to the courses. They are PXF AZ220. That one, I think. Yeah, it must be. That is this. So that should take you, I think, to the learning path that Maria-Anastasia is talking about. And in fact, I will share my screen and put that on the screen. So I'll go down to that. Then you should be able to see my screen. And here we are. So this is all of the courses in the AZ220 learning path for that particular exam. AZ220 is the Microsoft Azure IoT Developer Specialty Certification. Lots of words in that, but it's quite a big exam and it keeps getting bigger. I mean, we've just created another 10 questions for it yesterday, in fact. What day is it today? Tuesday, yesterday, yeah. So I helped create the exam in the first place, and now I maintain it, not only creating questions, but also reviewing the questions afterwards and kicking out questions that perhaps where the technology has moved on, no longer supported, stuff like that. And I've also helped create the Pluralsight content there as well. So I feel quite a little bit like the arbiter of that exam in a way.
Stop adding questions.
Yeah, sorry.
I've yet to take the exam, and every time I kind of find 10 minutes and I go back in, it's all changed. So stop it. Leave it alone.
Yeah, we've got at least two more whole sections to add in for digital twins as well that I need to get done. But I've got to try and find time to do that. I don't even know if they're going to give it to me in the end because it's taken me a little while to get these latest bits done. But yeah, I mean, one of the updates that I did. I think it was like more than double the length of the course on Pluralsight. So, but I learned so much interesting stuff when I'm doing it because it doesn't matter who you are. You very rarely are going to use the entire stack.
Yeah.
And so I often have to learn it just to either write questions or write the Pluralsight stuff. So I mean, I learned about device streams there the other day, where you can make an SSH tunnel from a service on your host machine to the device, and you just have port 443 open on your firewall, and you can tunnel other network traffic through port 443 and back out again, using a couple of proxy services, piece of software that Microsoft give you to be able to connect that way. So that was pretty cool. And I was looking at time series insights, anomaly detection, stream analytics anomaly detection there the other day as well. And that was really interesting to learn. And and certainly when you're sitting in the reviews of when the exam questions are being reviewed, so we create them, send them to the company, and then we sit in for half a day rather, going through everybody's questions. There's only 2 of us at the minute, and sort of fine-tuning them and making sure that the English is right and that it's 100% correct and stuff like that. So you learn about the other stuff that other person's been creating too. So it's fascinating, really, and get paid for doing that. So yeah.
Out of interest, are the exams, like all the Microsoft exams, are you forced to take them in English?
Yeah, I think so. I think they're in English, aren't they? Maria-Anastasia would probably be able to tell you that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep, I think they are.
Is it kind of when you're taking an exam or you're studying? I can't speak another language. I struggle with English, to be honest. But I can imagine an exam will be easier to take if it's in your natural language, because then you'd be able to kind of read it and understand it rather than having to go through, read it, understand it in a different language. But,
translate in your head.
I think that the exams are in English and in some other language, but because Greece is a small country, there is the option for Greek. But because we study these things in English, it's okay to take the exam in this language.
I suppose if English isn't your first language, you probably read the questions and the answers better than what I would as an English speaker, because RTFQ and we kind of skip read the sentence. We don't catch the subtleties of whereas you are reading it slowly and methodically, to translate into your brain, translating into Greek. You probably catch those nuances, So yeah.
I mean, there's a couple of things on that. Obviously, the docs and learn content that's fully translated into most popular languages, which is fantastic. It doesn't help with the exam, but when we're creating the questions, we're very careful about the English language that we use. And I mean, an example of that is that there can't be, in what's called the STEM, the question part of it, there can't be like one word that changes the whole meaning of it. So be really careful, and there's no double negatives, and so I try and make the English as plain as we possibly can, and as short as possible as well, to try and help with that. That's not just for foreign languages, of course. That's only fair for everybody, really. We never ever try and trick anybody, even though it might feel like that. The answer should be, if you know that particular topic, the answer should be obvious. It shouldn't be but that's only right if that shouldn't be the case. We're beating each other up the whole time, and certainly Gordon, one of the guys who sits in with us as the mediator, if you will, the main arbiter of whether a question gets accepted or not, he is very, very up on making sure that it reads right, it's 100% correct, there's no ifs, buts, maybes in there. So yeah, which is it's good.
Should we get on with some of these tabs, because we've wasted half hour, and we've helped Johnny with his project, and we've plugged your Pluralsight courses. So,
and the exam. I don't get any money from the exam, by the way.
And not IoT, which I'm going to try and come along to if I can.
Yes, yeah, cool. And just to be perfectly clear, it's like a beginner level stuff. So if you're a C# programmer who's not done much IoT, then this is going to be fantastic for you, just to be able to. I love talks at this level because you don't often get them. Most people try and go for this advanced level because I don't know if they don't think there's an audience out there, but certainly I've been super impressed with the feedback that I've had to be able to, after I've given talks at that sort of a level. And I know, Johnny Chips, you've picked up on some of the stuff that I've done, and it's super cool to see people like you and John Hilton. I know well, a great guy. He picked up on some of it, and people send me tweets with images, and they sat down playing with stuff, or they've sat down with the kids and they're playing with IoT, and that we need that grassroots level stuff. It's great to have the advanced stuff, but it's no good if you can't actually get into IoT at all. That's the same for any topic, really. But you're right. Let's move on. So we should move on by plugging in another event. So
I don't mind this one. I'm involved in this one. There's Maria-Anastasia as well.
There's an AKAMS for this somewhere, isn't there? Let me get that, because they'll definitely want us to use the proper AKAMS. So one sec. Down here, Tech Days. Oh, it's never fast, is it? But anyway, Cliff, tell us about Tech Days.
Tech Days. Well, Tech Days, I'm not sure how it came about, but got roped in somehow. I think Adam promising stuff. Tech Days, 15th November. It's going to be on Microsoft Learn and a bunch of other places. Head out to the AKMS there. And basically what we're going to do is have we're going to go on a flight together. So we are, and there's a group versus me, Pete, Maria-Anastasia. Johnny Chips is going to help out as well with some awesome Power BI stuff. We got Jürgen, who's doing time series insight stuff. Who else we got? Who else is joining us? Can't remember now. There's a group of people joining us anyway. And the idea is we're going to take you from an IoT device. Pete's going to start off with just simulating some stuff with a simulated Raspberry Pi. Then I'm going to do an ESP32 running Nano Framework and some C# code. And that's going to send up some data up to IoT Hub. And then once the data is in the cloud, we're going to show you what you can do with it, or what's possible to be done with it, time series insights, sorting the data out, finding some outliers in the data, things that, either to raise an alarm or to, actually that's a tough bit of data, something's gone wrong there, let's get rid of it. And eventually pump it into something that the business can use, because at the end of the day, as techs and engineers, we build the stuff, but ultimately, unless there's a business case and a business need, we're never going to get money from the business to build it, are we? And play with all the toys you want to play with. So at the end of it, Johnny's going to show us an awesome Power BI that he's putting together to show the data and show it off, such that the business can actually use that data. So it's 2.5 hours long, I think it is. Yeah. There's five sessions. They're all going to be fairly short, 15 to 20 minutes, 25 minutes at most, with a good 15 to 20 minute Q&A after each session, so you can jump in, ask your questions. There's going to be loads of us there that all work with IoT all the time. So don't be afraid to come along, say hi, jump in and learn it all. And then the aim is that we're going to stick it all on GitHub at the end of it as well, and you can go in there and not use it as reference, but use it as an idea of actually this is how they did it. I can kind of maybe do it the same. I'd never use my code as reference code for anything.
Why not? Come on.
Why not? Well, crash and burn. We don't want to do that when we're talking about flying. So the idea, and the reason we themed it around flight is just purely because I hate temperature and pressure and humidity sensors.
We're putting it in though, yeah.
We put it in, yes. But I wanted to do something different. So when I agreed to do this, I said, let's do something that isn't your atypical, bog standard IoT project, reading temperature and humidity and showing a graph. So I wanted something different. It wasn't me that came up with the flight thing. It was someone else. I think it was you or Adam.
It was me.
Pete,
it was me. It was me, yeah.
Was it you? Okay.
Yeah.
So then we thought, well...
I was inspired.
You have data like GPS, altitude, airspeed, all that sort of stuff. So we have a load of data that we can grab. So we're going to follow a flight across Europe. and yeah, the idea is that we'll capture that data live and share it, and hopefully throughout the whole series you'll get a kind of insight into what IoT Hub and time series insights and Power BI, what that can do for you to visualize this data. And that's the plan. So come along, say hi, and join in. So yeah,
Johnny Chips.
Enough for this?
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, Johnny Chips is saying temperature humidity for the win. He's got Power BI visualizations ready and waiting. Yeah, well, we're doing outside temperature, and Cliff's going to generate some outside temperature readings. But I mean, that's going to be like an inverse of the altitude reading, if you imagine. So the higher you go, the colder it gets. What did it get? Did you say minus 40 something, minus 47 degrees or something?
The standard, the ISO standard temperature for the tropopause is minus 57.
Wow.
But I've seen it a lot colder. I've seen it down to minus, I think it was minus 63, 64. I've seen it down to.
Wow.
If you remember I shouldn't talk about air crashes, but if you remember the 777 that crashed at Heathrow, 12 years ago now, that flew back from Beijing, and that went through temperatures of just over minus 70 point something, just over minus 70. Which is what caused the fuel to freeze in the fuel filters, and the fuel filter design. It never really been thought of to work at those temperatures. Yeah, and the fuel filter design had been changed, and yeah, so it can get darn cold. But basically, the adiabatic lapse rate is what it's called. The temperature for every 1,000 feet you go up, it drops by 2 degrees. So when you climb a big steep hill, it will get cold at the top, which is why you should always take the jumper. You go hiking, to be cold at the top than it is on the ground. But yeah.
Yeah, so, cold weather. Yeah. Cold weather's bad for stuff that flies. Obviously, that terrible Challenger disaster was caused by cold weather freezing the seals between the what were they called, the O-rings between the
O-rings. Yeah, but that was on the ground though, wasn't it?
It was. Yep.
It was the fact that they were the damage was done before even the countdown had got anywhere near zero. So yeah, sadly.
Andy is asking, can we do digital twins for this? Yes, we could. And that would be a good use of digital twins if you were then to scale this up to many, many planes, where you would perhaps read in the data. Now, what did you call the data stream that comes out of a plane there, Cliff? There's a name there.
You have the data that comes out, which is the stuff that we're using, is called ADSB. So it's a data broadcast. So every commercial aircraft that's in service now, no matter where you are in the world, well, meant to be anyway, it's called ADSB, and it sends out its position, its altitude, its airspeed, and a few other metrics as well. And the idea is that air traffic control use that to overlay the radar. So you've all seen the movies. I'm trying to think of the one where he runs around with a gun around the airport.
Die Hard 2.
Die Hard 2, that's it, yeah. You've all seen it where the radar kind of scope goes round, doesn't it? And pings the aircraft. That's called primary radar. So that is literally just looking for a metal dot in the sky. And then you have secondary radar, secondary surveillance radar, SSR. And that is where this ADSB data is read from aircraft and it's overlaid on top of that. So it knows there's a ping over there. It knows roughly where that is. And it's got a bit of data from the secondary surveillance that puts it on top. That's kind of, it's a lot more complicated than that, but that's the nuts and bolts of it. So this data sent out, and then the advantage of that data being sent out as well is you have TCAS, which is Traffic Collision Avoidance System, and that is where an ADSB in receiver on board the aircraft can receive the data from other aircraft and build a map of aircraft around it, which is displayed to the pilot. So if you're getting too close to another aircraft, it will give you avoiding actions like climb and descend and stuff like that. So yeah, this ADSB data is quite good, and there's talk of adding more and more data to this. One of the problems we had at the beginning of the pandemic when we wasn't flying so much was the fact that the weather reports were all skew-whiff around the world, and the reason they all went horribly wrong around the world and no one knew what the weather was doing was because majority of the weather that you get comes from all the jet streams and all the cloud and air masses moving around the world. But the way that the meteorologists know where the jet stream is, what it's doing, what temperature it is, how fast it is, and that sort of thing, is because they get the data from aircraft.
Right.
No aircraft flying, no data. No data means the weather models all went out the windows. So there's lots and lots of things. Like it's like suddenly they caught on the radars on the coast of Ireland. Suddenly caught all these big storms coming in. It's like, oh, we weren't expecting them. And it's like, oh crap, it's going to be raining for the next few days, and all the weather was everywhere, and that's because they weren't getting this weather data. And the worst thing was we weren't getting it as airline pilots, which meant that we didn't kind of have confidence in the weather and where the jet stream was, so we was having to load extra fuel because we didn't know how strong the wind was going to be when we really got up there. Because you don't want to run out of fuel. It's a bad, messy thing happens then. So yeah, but yeah, if you want to hear more, come along to the chat on the 15th and join in. So.
Yep, 10 a.m. BST. No, it'll be GMT. 10 a.m. GMT at that point. BST finishes on 30th of October in this country. So, in fact, that's what it says there. Look, GMT. 10 a.m. GMT. So, it's going to be really interesting. Andy makes a really good point about digital twins. Yeah, Boeing and those sorts of people. You don't buy engines anymore. You rent them. And you pay for the service hours or flight hours. Which is really bad if there's a pandemic, of course, because people aren't travelling very far. But
yeah, there is that. But when you buy those service contracts, you don't not buy the engine. You still buy it, and then you buy a big service contract on top.
Yeah.
When you buy these service contracts, the way it works is you guarantee to fly that engine a minimum number of hours per month, year, etc., etc. So that's why you see quite a few aircraft flying around with not many people on them. If you don't, then you invalidate it. So yeah, it's not good. Yeah. So hey ho.
But I mean, as part of that, companies like Boeing and Rolls-Royce are tracking every single part of these engines that they possibly can, and they're feeding all of that data into digital twins so they can model the reliability, and they can use predictive maintenance and stuff like that. So it's hugely important, and one of the big uses of digital twins is that sort of level of modelling. And you can feed all of this data into that and use it that way. So yeah, absolutely correct.
I mean,
right. Oh, go on. No, go on.
The 787 that I fly sends maintenance data from the aircraft live down to Rolls-Royce and our engineering teams back at Heathrow. So and it sends, the amount of data it sends down is phenomenal. No matter where we are in the world, it all sends it via Satlink. And I've been met on the ground with engineers like coming out to change things because they've started to see a trend of something that's is about to break or something's not quite right with it. And they've come out with all these spare parts. We know nothing. There's no bells, whistles, or warnings gone off to us. And they've come out with these big bits to bolt into the side of the aircraft, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we need to change this because the computer says it's about to break or it's not playing right, and channel A's gone down, but it's okay. You got home on channel B." But we know nothing. But they've got all this wealth of data. Hopefully, the IoT kind of sensors that are in there. I mean, that's proper IoT, isn't it? That really is Internet of Things in the clouds.
Meta, very meta that is. So I love that. Just final call out. Do come to that. There's more information on that AKAMS just up there. So next is now on this show we love robots, and I spotted this mini pupper, a dog with a Raspberry Pi for a brain. And how cool does this look? I love the look of this, and you think that looks just look cool on its own, but actually as it's going along. I think it's this video. If I play it,
looks like the Boston Dynamics robot, doesn't it?
Very much, exactly that, and it certainly will do because where's the little video? Is it this one? It's got cameras built in. Oh, it's here. Look, it's in this. If I go to the Kickstarter project, so hold on a minute. Let me create a Bitly for this. It's I forget what it's called now. This robot. What's it called? A mini pupper. Mini pupper. Let's just put that in the chat. Oh no, that's not that. Copy. There we go. do that. So there's a Kickstarter here as well. I'm not going to do the Kickstarter link because you can just click it in that other link. But if I scroll down, let's see is it this video or is it down here? Where is it? It's got there we are. Look, it's got cameras built into it as well, and so it's got like object detection and follow facilities and all sorts. So very much like those Boston Robotics robots.
That is so cool.
Yeah, I like the look of this. Look at it. Love the look of that.
3D printed or something like that, or is it?
Doesn't look
I mean,
like
they're it does, doesn't it? I mean, they're using a Raspberry Pi.
Yep.
I'm
I don't know what that is.
Wow.
Round bit. Open source as well. So and look at that. It's just all sorts of different mechanisms for moving around. What's happened to that one? Oh, it's Wall-E. It's in Wall-E mode, isn't it? I guess that's the Wall-E paint job. And that's what it reminds me of, actually, very much, is the style of robot in Wall-E. I love Wall-E. I wish they'd do a second Wall-E movie. How much is it? Anyway, I didn't look how much it was. Early bird kit.
I'm trying to find a link to get through the Kickstarter.
Oh, I'll tell you what. I'll make a Bitly. What was it? Mini Pupper.
Was there a link? I remember you saying something.
It
was on there. I was trying to find it.
Mini Pupper. Yes, Kickstarter. Copy. All right, it's in the chat now. There you go. So yeah, go check that out. That looks awesome. It looks like you need to pay in Hong Kong dollars. So I don't know what 3,890 Hong Kong dollars are. Convert 3890 HK to GBP. See what that says. Sometimes that just works, doesn't it? No, HKD maybe. Yeah, that'd be more like it.
Yeah.
Let's try that. There we are. 367 quid. So quite expensive. I'm imagining for that price it must come with the Raspberry Pi, surely. Mini Pupper complete kit.
You can't
yeah, comes with a 2 gig Pi 4. 2 gig Pi 4 will set you about 40 quid anyway, all on its own. So, look, well, it says there, look, there's dollars, there's 499 US dollars. Quite a lot, I'd say. So most of the cost of that will just be in the design of how they've made that. That little camera module, though, what? That must be the Mang Dang custom parts, then, maybe. I'm not entirely sure what.
Yeah, I mean, they've got custom servos and all sorts in there when you go through it. It's yeah, so they've got custom servos, they've got custom cameras and all sorts. So yeah, using OpenCV. Yeah, looks very cool.
These servos, by the way, Cliff, weren't you looking for better servos? Those look like kind of what you'd want.
I am, but these again are still too big. I'm looking for a small servo similar to the ones I use in Handy. Basically, I'm looking to replace the ones in Handy, but I'm trying to keep the cost down because the ones in Handy cost about £85 at the moment. Actually, a bit more now because the dollar rate's moved again. I'm just trying to get them a bit cheaper so I can make Handy cheaper. But yeah, I'm still looking. So if anyone knows of any decent servos that can, fairly powerful, linear, if they're kind of linear in and out as opposed to rotary, even better. And they must have feedback, like a potentiometer feedback. But yeah, I'm struggling to find a decent servo that does it. I've looked at loads now, but I've a box full of them out in the hangar, in the workshop where I've kind of bought them and they've not really been what I need. So I've kind of got, if you need a servo, I've got lots of them.
Yeah, I've got a fair few of them as well. It's open source as well, and there's the Hackaday project for that whole ROS. That's the robotic operating system ROS. I've not looked at that actually. I think I've got a few packet ebooks that I got in their free packet deal for ROS. I really must look at it. So it sounds interesting. Jeez, just time again, isn't it? So that's cool. So go and check that out. And there's that same hacker. That's the Kickstarter rather. So, and then it's based on this Stanford Pupper apparently, an inexpensive and open source quadruped robot, and I don't even need to shorten that link. And just stick that straight in there. It does overflow a little, but never mind. So that looks cool as well. So that might be something worth looking at. And these look like little, same as those 10G servos, don't they? But just on 9G or whatever they're called.
Yeah. 9G. Yeah.
9G servos. Yeah. So very very similar, isn't it? So that's cool. I like that. Next one. This one, Maria.
On that page, it mentions the mini pupper as well. So if you scroll down a bit on that same page, it's got it there as well. You scroll past it. So yeah, there's always worry about Kickstarter and backing projects whether you're actually going to see the bits or not.
Yeah, I'd want to look and just make sure that they're doing the right thing. But it sounds as though they're open sourcing this as well, the mini pupper, which is good, because I think if you take an open source project, modify it a little bit, then close source it and put it on Kickstarter, I think that's rude in a lot of respects. But look at that. Jeez. I mean, that must be in Hong Kong dollars as well, surely. You'd imagine. But even so. So that's cool. So next up was this, Maria-Anastasia reminded me of this. I saw that actually, so I've probably got this twice. Yeah, that one. So this looks awesome. Quilted colour changing LED and speaker project, a quilted piece of art, and I love stuff like this, stuff that is beautiful and yet still IoT stroke, makery. Did you have a look through this in detail, Maria-Anastasia? Yeah,
it's a very creative and out of the box IoT project. And you can make various designs, and I love it.
I need to. I've not watched the video. Let me have a quick look to see what the video is saying. Hello.
You there?
This quilted.
We can hear you.
I'm here. Wait, are you talking to me?
I thought you were saying hello. No, I thought you were saying hello.
Oh yeah, no, sorry, no, I was. I pressed the play button on the video and it didn't play, so I was saying hello. Sorry. Yeah. It looks cool though. It looks mega. It looks like a stained glass window, doesn't it? Look at that.
It does look really good. Actually.
Something out of Avatar.
When we get Avatar 2, that's what I want to know.
Well, it's Avatar 2 and 3 together, isn't it? They're filming them back to back. I thought it might be 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah, no, but they've been doing it for like years. Yeah,
well, the pandemic affected it, but they are back on that now. Far more exciting is that we're now getting very close to Discovery Season 4, Strange New Worlds, Prodigy, and there's going to be now, I think there's at least 2 Star Trek movies in production as well, so some exciting stuff happening in the world of Trek, which I'm a big fan of. Look at this. People make some awesome stuff with like NeoPixels and stuff like that. Sewable IoT stuff is amazing. Look at that! It's like a what do they call it?
It's cardboard house, isn't it? A cardboard hut.
Yes. Thing. No, but I was thinking it was like one of those where you go and sit down and you look at pictures of the stars. What do they call those? Because they've got one at the Space Centre in Leicester. Oh, I can't remember what they call it. Used to have one down near opposite Madame Tussauds in London as well. I can't remember what it's called now. But anyway, it's like stellar cartography in Star Trek. So that's cool. I like that. So go and check that out and make cool stuff with you. I mean, certainly when I'm giving my talks, I always like to talk about the cool stuff I make rather than the boring stuff. And I agree with Cliff's estimation of just everything's temperature and humidity. But I know why people do it. Yeah,
that's because it's easy, and the sensors are cheap.
Yeah, just need to solder them. Yeah. So next up, bread bin as an 8-bit TTL. I mean, look at this. Somebody has made out of discrete chips an 8-bit TTL CPU. How about that? And I've seen these sorts of things being made before.
That is effectively what computers were back in the mid to late 70s, wasn't it? Everyone was hand wrapping around pins that were in a wooden board, which is where breadboard comes from, isn't it? So yeah,
I love that one.
Now the nails into a big lump of wood and wind wrap around them.
Yeah, I put it in a bread bin.
Very cool.
There might be a reason for that. I don't know.
Why not?
But yeah, why not? I guess. But I've seen projects like this before where you can build your own computer out of the, essentially. What Cliff's talking about a little bit later on. So Spectrum and Commodore 64 and stuff like that. That era had a lot of individual chips, but you can build your own computer with like the shift registers in there and memory and ALUs, the arithmetic units and stuff like that. You can build all of those out of the individual chips and wire them all up. And there's loads of projects like that out there, and they're really cool. And in fact, I got like really interested in low level programming using something called the Emma board, which was a 6502.
I use that.
Did you? It was Emma 2, in fact.
Yeah,
it was.
I did my college stuff on that. The Emma and the
There you
Emma
go.
2.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely amazing. I'd love one. I'd absolutely. But the designs are all there. You can actually build it. I'd love it. But what was great, the Emma 2 was so you had the board with the CPU and the memory and all of that all laid out, but you could program the individual machine code instructions in hex into it and then run it and step it along in the code, and you could have a look at what the memory was doing at that particular moment in time. And it was an amazing piece of kit for teaching people how machine code works and low level programming works.
Yeah, except the problem was when you was tapping in the code and you'd handwritten your code in a big long list of all these machine codes like A9 this and and F4 and all this sort of stuff. I still remember some of them down. And you're sitting there and you've got this little hex keyboard that looks like a giant calculator, and you're tapping them in. And you get one wrong, you can't delete it. You have to wipe the memory and start again.
I think you could wipe that memory. I think in the Emma 2 you could wipe that line and start that line again. I think the Emma 2 was a bit of an upgrade. That's the Emma.
You could actually, you could, couldn't you? Yeah. It's just the first one you couldn't.
Yeah,
so,
I think the Emma 2.
I'd love to get one though.
Oh,
I wonder if Mark's got one.
I don't know. You'd hope they would.
That's the board.
Yeah,
that's the board.
Absolutely incredible.
That brings back memories. That does.
But that's
we had at my college. We had a weather station up on the roof, and it's just an animal. So it gave you wind speed and direction, temperature and humidity. But yeah, maybe that's where my hate of temperature and humidity comes from, because I spent so long trying to get this Emma board to read the temperature and humidity from this darn sensor on the roof of the college. I don't know, but I'd love to get one. That'd be so much fun.
But so you can build them. All the specs and everything are all there. All the code, I think, is even there to build one. But I mean, geez, trying to actually get the parts would be difficult. But I'd love. I think there's possibly an Emma 2 simulator there as well somewhere. But funny enough, I was. Oh, there's something for the Emma 2 there. Somebody was selling it. Look, back in the day, sold for. In fact, got that looks like it is the Emma 2. I don't remember. I think we must have had a little shroud over this or something. I don't think it was. We must have had it.
No, I remember mine had PC standoffs in the corner. The clear bit of perspex over the top of it. So you couldn't touch any of the chips or anything else. And there was a hole cut out where the keys were. Yeah, and the red filter on the top of the that was it. 7-segment displays as well. Yeah. Funnily, I went for a tour around the college where I did my college work with one of the user groups that I helped organise. And although they didn't have this hanging around, we used to deal with like avometers and variacs, and they still had the same ones that I used to use back in the 90s. I've got an Avo 8. I got an Avo 8. Up in the loft. And an analog voltage meter, basically. Yeah, an old Avo 8.
There we go. Look at that. Yes,
that's it.
You've got one of them.
That's it. That's the one. I've got one. It's still in a leather case, and it's up in the loft in my box of things I shall not throw away. I had that from when I started my apprenticeship back in. I started my apprenticeship in '91. My engineering apprenticeship. 91 when I started it. I got given an Avo 8, and that was our kind of our volt and amp meter.
We had one of them as well. That's amazing. Yeah. I mean, it's funny. Obviously, Cliff and I are old, Maria-Anastasia, in comparison to you. But When at university, did you do any low-level programming, or was it all high-level stuff, or did they expose you to machine code and stuff like that?
No, we did low code projects, and we wrote in assembly with
Z80.
80.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Z80. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, we did that too. There's of course there's Z80 simulators online which you would have used now. But... Go on.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah. It was pretty hard though.
I spent 12 years doing that as a job, but for PIC microprocessors or microcontrollers, more to the point, doing assembler. So where most people did embedded C, probably I was sitting there doing assembler. I still support assembler for some of the cash handling equipment for another company. There's a bunch of stuff, you can't quite see it, but on the shelf up there, and some of the stuff on the right hand side, that's not actually that low level, but up on the top shelf up there's a bunch of stuff that are still supporting that. And there's what's called an ICE, an in-circuit emulator, that you plug in place of the chip, and it allows you to be able to step through code, set breakpoints, view memory, and stuff like that. And that is invaluable. I'm not sure how much support I'd get done, and you cannot replace them. I was tweeting about it, and one of the people that worked at Microchip who used to support it said, "Don't break that thing. You can't replace any of the parts anymore." So it's quite careful with that these days.
Johnny Shannon, he did machine code in uni, which would have been around 2006. Yeah. I mean, a lot of my stuff was all from when I was at Ford, and all that ML stuff we did at college. But then you go in and you'd be programming robots, and you'd be using like Cartesian coordinates and stuff like that, and it'll all be done off machine code because that's all you had. But yeah, it's those were the fun days. Playing with AVR microchips and PICs and stuff like that.
Perfect.
All written. Yeah, great fun. So, in fact, actually, my 14-year-old son is doing computer science as his GCSEs, and he was his homework the other day. He was drawing AND and NAND gates and stuff like that, and exclusive OR gates and things. And I just peered over his shoulders. Oh, AND gates and OR gates, and he went, "Well, you know what they are?" I went, "Yeah, I know what they are." And he was doing it and that, and then he was going on to work out the Boolean maths of like a circuit with a couple of AND gates and an OR gate and stuff like that, and I basically looked at him and I said, "Oh, the output will be a 1." And he was like, "How do you know that?" I said, I can just see it." And he went through it, did all this stuff, and he turned around to me, he went, "Like, you got to teach me that trick, Dad." It was like, you got it so quick. It's like I'm just so used to seeing the path through, AND gates and OR gates and stuff like that. I don't need to write a truth table. And the truth table he was writing was he was literally kind of writing them down, and he'd been told, just write them down so you've got all the answers. You should know that you need kind of how many gates, and you should need like kind of 16 rows. So you write them all down. I was like, no, this is the quick way of doing it. I showed him a quick, easy way of writing out a truth table for the number of gates across. And I said, you can't mess up then. You can't accidentally miss one or repeat one. And he took it back in the school, and he was like, and it's a really neat way of doing it as well. So, it's cool to see all that sort of stuff. Teaching him two's complement and things like this. But yeah, binary maths, I love it.
I've not done any of that in ages, but yeah, I used to love doing that sort of stuff. Discrete logic stuff I find far more understandable than some of the more physics-based stuff like magnetism and stuff I found quite difficult. And some of the maths in that integration and differentiation I found quite difficult. Look at this.
I put a talk synopsis together a while back. I put to, I was in his NDC. I put it to about building a computer from discrete gates, and it's basically going to start off with an AND and OR gate and go up to building a computer effectively. Only a small one, obviously, but idea of taking it from that and how it all works, so that you can see where your code runs and how it works under the hood. But it never got accepted, so it didn't happen.
That's a shame. That would have been good.
So Carl's joined. Hey, Carl, how are you?
What? IoT is much more fun. Yeah, I do like IoT. And more fun than a project manager estimating website build. Okay, IoT is more fun than that. I can tell you that. This is some of the code for like a change machine, by the way.
Double whatever you think it's going to be, Carl.
Yeah, that'll work. This is some of the code for a change machine. So this is all in assembler. So that's the sort of stuff that I still have to support every now and again. It's like reading the Matrix to some degrees, but it's not too bad once you know what you're doing. And all the variables all at the top up here, and it's cool.
Even that's like higher level than what the Emma was, because the Emma was actually the hex, wasn't it? That machine, that assembler there would get compiled into the hex values, which then gets sent down to the device. So I've done assembler as well for the PICs and the AVR microchips as well. But the Emma was literally, you had to go via assembler to get to your hex values. You
had to look it up, didn't you? Piece of paper. You had to look it up. You had to write your program out. Your opcodes and operands out, and then you had to translate that to hex and type the hex in. And it was always backwards as well, wasn't it? I think they wanted the opcode before the operand.
It was funny. Little endian, wasn't it? So you had to do it back front. If you use load in the register, you do the load command, is it LDA or something like that, wasn't it? Load register A and LDB. And then the value went load in. You had to remember, you had to put, if it was a 4-digit value.
F000 would be 00 F0, wouldn't it? Yeah, exactly.
In school, we had a class in which we have to write with in 1 and zeros, and it was pretty difficult.
Yeah. Wow,
and
not even hex.
I gave this exam 3 times to pass it.
That would be hard if you had to do the binary, never mind the hex. It's just rude. Oh, crikey. Oh, well done for passing it in the end anyway. That's good. Right, so moving on. That was that bread bin computer. So I think I put that on the screen, didn't I?
We said we'll be done by 10, and we're not even halfway through our things here. We go off on tangents all the time.
We do. It's fine. Look at this. The first programmable I/O module with a Raspberry Pi Micro. Now, when I say micro, actually, it's an RP2040 in there. So the first industrial product based around the RP2040. Now, we know how powerful that device is, actually. It's an awesome device, certainly with the PIO, the programmable input-output stuff on there. It's a compact I/O module that combines the ease of use of Raspberry Pi with some digital and analog input and output interfaces, and rugged, and all approved with CE marks and all of that lot. So let's just make a...
Very impressive.
So that was... I liked the look of that.
Is that from Raspberry Pi, or is that from someone else? Like it's an aftermarket one, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Not an aftermarket, but a repurposing on the board. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, they're using that elsewhere. Oh, I've lost the chat window. There it is. What was this? It designed a working 3-core machine using logic gates. Wow. Carl, that's pretty impressive. I like that.
Working 3-core machine. Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
Johnny. Take care. Wish your son well soon.
Bye.
Yeah.
Not everyone else,
Thanks
just
very
Johnny.
much. Just Johnny, yeah. Oh, there's a job here. Managing Director of Non-Formal Learning Projects, by the way.
Carl's trying
Raspberry
to post
Pi.
the link, but Carl, the links it stops you doing it. So put spaces where dots and things like that need to be. It will stop you pasting the URL.
Yep. There is a job here at Raspberry Pi in Cambridge for the Managing Director of Non-Formal Learning Products. And actually, the wage for that is awesome. Up to 95 grand.
Isn't it?
Yeah, that's more than the engineers get paid, I think, down there. So, it sounds like you need to know your stuff, but you're getting involved with AstroPi and coolest projects and stuff like that. So, and the scouts. So this is an awesome role. And good pay.
AstroPi closes at the end of the month. Don't forget, if you plan to get involved, the longer 6-month project one closes. I think it's like the 20-something of the month. I think it is. It closes. But if you just want your kid to do the one where they get 30 seconds of time on one of the new AstroPies. I think they've got until January. I think it is, isn't it? I think.
Right. Yeah, most likely.
Are your students doing it, Maria-Anastasia? You got involved in the AstroPie project?
Yeah, I think that the first deadline is at 29th of October.
Okay. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, the second deadline I don't remember it.
There you go. Cole sent the link to that the YouTube of the person with the Minecraft thing, so I've just pasted it in for him. So,
Oh, cool.
yeah, it's a cool project. That's a really cool job, though, Pete, isn't it? I mean, it's nice that they're putting some money behind it as well.
Yes, yeah, most certainly.
Is this the link? Computer.
Is this Carl? Is this what you made? Is this what Carl made?
I don't think Carl made it. He's just talking about it.
Right.
He could have made it. I don't know.
What did he say? Have you seen the Minecraft Red? Oh, designed to work. Oh, sorry, I just read that last one. Designed to work in 3-core machine using logic gates. Wow, look at that! My word,
that is a lot of work.
Bloody right! Wow, I need to show this to my daughter. She loves Minecraft. Both daughters do, to be fair. Wow, that's crazy.
I'm gonna have to show that to my kids as well. That is bonkers.
That really is.
Yeah.
Crikey. Like that. Right, I mean, we're running out of time. We already ran out of time, actually. What was this? Coral. Oh, this is AI stuff. So helping bring local AI projects from prototype to... so it's a different board, I think. This isn't a Raspberry Pi 4, I don't think. This is a Google-y type thing, I think. Yeah, expensive, 129 quid for this board,
wow.
But it's an Edge TPU board, so it's only supports Python and C++, but it's got Mendel Linux, a derivative of Debian, so that's a lie, because if it's Debian, then it also supports C#, so nah.
Yeah.
We'd make it do that. But a USB accelerator, so I guess if you got one of these, you could probably make that work with a Raspberry Pi anyway. It's just that perhaps some of the other stuff, if this has got a little bit better specs, but then there's a whole heap of other stuff down here as well. So accelerator keys. So there must be like a little connector here. So that's this, some of that hat. So and what's the betting that that's Raspberry Pi compatible GPIO across the side as well? Wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, it must be.
Yeah.
It does look like a Raspberry Pi board, though. It's very close.
Yeah, it's an open source design, the Raspberry Pi board, of course, so people are free to copy it. So I think that's why. But that looks like the HDMI there, possibly. Or does it? I'm not quite sure, actually. That's maybe a full-size USB. Hard to know. I've not spent ages looking at it, but there was just I was scrolling down. It was like, crikey, there's quite a lot of... Look at this one. Oh, beautiful. Yeah. Oh. It's at least got light in there. That's quite cool. I like that. But yeah, cameras, I mean, it's very much like the Raspberry Pi camera.
And the quick connectors as well.
Yes, those seed type connectors. So that was quite cool. Coral AI, that was. Let's do that. Stick that link in the chat.
So Cole's saying that Google's looking to make their own silicon, Microsoft as well, and Apple started. Well, Apple basically just gone ARM, haven't they? They're not making their own. They've just got ARM. Which takes it back to the very beginning, because they used back to the beginning. ARM come out of the Acorn.
That's right.
Didn't it? And the BBC Master, when all that fell apart. So and it fell apart because of Apple and the Apple II. So it kind of goes full circle now, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's true. That's funny.
That chip wouldn't be around, or that chipset and the ARM kind of a RISC kind of process and everything else wouldn't be around if it wasn't for the original Apple. So yeah, it's kind of funny, really.
Archimedes. I remember using those at school.
The Archimedes, yeah.
That's the first ARM-based machine with the RISC processor.
That was it.
So,
and it got blown out of the water by the Apple and the BBC and stuff like that. So
it was a great machine. The Archimedes was an awesome machine. Graphically speaking, it was way ahead of its time. Dead good. I included this link because, and we've not got much time to talk about it now, sadly, because it's 12:15 in Greekland over there in Rhodes. So I'm at pains to make sure we don't spend a massive amount of time, but we do need to speak on this show about what people are using in production for their IoT kit, because funnily enough, I don't have a massive amount of experience of like this sort of production IoT kit. Certainly my level of production knowledge, I tend to do the POC work and then give it to the company and then they productionize it after that. So I don't spend a great deal of time at the moment in that world. And in my past, we've made bespoke electronics. We're talking about the PIC microchip. So all of that, those like change machines, cash handling equipment, that's all just, we created that electronics ourselves. But companies like this iBase thing, they make these more productionized versions of things like the Raspberry Pi. It's not a Raspberry Pi. It's a bit more complicated than that, obviously, when you look at the specs. But that's what these things are designed for. And I'd love to know.
I'd still argue that that's production ready though, because I wouldn't use that in a factory. That'd last 10 minutes.
That thing there.
It lasts 10 minutes. It needs to be in a proper secure case and everything else.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, it's just like even things like that fan wouldn't last very long, because in heavy industry, certainly in the factories that I used to work in back in the day, that fan would get clogged up inside of a couple of months with time filings and stuff like that, because you're in the machine center. Air is thick with coolant and iron and stuff like that. I mean, my sense of smell is pretty poor, because every night I'd be black with all the crap that was in the air. But that was it. So things like that. Yeah, great in a clean room or a nice environmental space, but in a machining center or heavy industry, it wouldn't last very long.
Yeah, no, you'd repurpose parts of that, certainly. So that was interesting. Raspberry Pi Silicon at the heart of a long-range communication card. So look, another piece of RP2040 stuff in a long-range communication card here. So they're buried the actual RP2040 chip.
But they mean, are they using LoRaWAN or are they using something else? Yeah,
LoRaWAN. Yeah.
LPWAN, it says.
Don't know. LoRaWAN here as well.
LoRaWAN. It says LPWAN above it though.
Yeah. It conforms to the LoRaWAN low power networking specification. So I guess.
I can read.
It doesn't tell you a great deal about it there, actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I thought that was interesting. It was interesting because RP2040 started to pop up in kit, essentially, that chip. So they're doing a good job.
Imagine what's going to happen when they come out with the V2, which has got all the power saving stuff and things like this. Where we're going to see it then. It's going to be pretty impressive.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
here's another thing as well. Project Moab, which I don't know anything about, but the video was quite interesting.
Moab to me means mother of all bombs, because that is what the military call their really big bomb, isn't it? I'm not sure if someone at Microsoft has missed that, but
who knows? There we are.
So autonomous systems and Moab are not really things I want to see in the same sentence, really.
No.
But hey ho.
Let me mute that. But it was just here. So he's got this little ping pong ball, and he was able to put it on that, and it was able to, I think, sort of balance itself.
This has been around for a while, isn't it?
It has.
Seen this. Yeah.
Project Bonsai, which I've not heard anything about, and simulators and stuff like that. So, how to balance a ping pong ball on a plastic plate. So it was interesting. So I've not spent any time, but looking at this, but I thought people should have a quick look and see what that's about, because I've not. I mean, AI and IoT tend to go together. AIoT. So we do talk about that on the show. What's this? Our electronics launches an AI thermal sensing solution based on this ST microelectronic. I've not done a great deal of stuff with ST, funnily enough. Never have. But I know you have, Cliff. You've done some stuff.
I've got a couple of their boards, but not done much with them. A couple of their dev boards. But yeah, I mean, they're much as they do the same as everything else, really. The dev boards that I've got anyway. It's just interesting to see what different companies, different chipset, but it does the same job.
Oh, this is cool. This is cool. Oh, sorry. Go on, Maria-Anastasia. Go on.
No, it's okay. I have due to my diploma thesis, STM boards.
Ah,
Oh, you
cool.
got two.
Yeah, I must
Yeah.
buy some.
The dev board ones, yeah. I can't remember what they're called now. Yeah.
One basic and one for LoRa.
The little one.
LoRa, yeah.
I
Okay,
like it.
cool.
Yeah. I need to. I mean, there's a bunch of getting started stuff that we talked about on the show before on the in the docs, Microsoft Docs for IoT, and there's an ST chip example in there as well that I'd like to go through.
Nano Framework supports the ST chipset as well.
There you go.
So yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
This was mega, and I put this in here just as much because I know Cliff's a big 3D printing aficionado. Have you got a 3D printer there, Maria-Anastasia? Have you got one?
No, we have where I teach kids robotics, but
Yeah.
I haven't in my home. Yeah, yet.
Yeah.
So this is mega. So it's a 3D printer that's been repurposed to solve Sudoku puzzles. So let me fast forward to the part where it's actually solving it. Look, how cool is that? Reminds me of the old plotters.
Yeah,
That you used to be able to-
Great.
Yeah.
that's very cool.
How cool is that? So obviously there's a camera looking down to be able to get the puzzle it's going to solve, and then it's using AI then to solve it. So that's just, I love that. That's really cool. What a great use of a 3D printer.
Someone's got far too much time in their hands, is what I'm going to say.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Sander van der Velde, who was on the show last week, a great friend of the show as well.
Yeah, thanks, Sander, for standing in for me.
Yeah, that was good with Sander as well. So do go and check this out. His blog in general is awesome, and I know we mentioned it on the show, but he's done a new one here on the 11th of October about IoT plug-and-play support for Azure IoT Edge devices in IoT Central. And this is another thing I've not spent a great time looking at, IoT plug-and-play support, but that comes down to, I think, the Digital Twins definition language, DTDL, about essentially what interfaces it supports and what capabilities a particular device has got. And in IoT Central, that's really useful for, and if you've never used it, IoT Central is a software as a service offering from Microsoft that embeds IoT Hub, time series insights, stream analytics, plug and play, device provisioning service. All of those different things are all connected together for you to use there. And so do go and check that out. I'll put the link in the chat for that. And then that's that quilted fabric thing again that we saw earlier. That was the Pluralsight course. Hey, we got to the end. That was all the links. So it was just
I've put one in the and I just want to call out to it because I think it's an awesome podcast as well to listen to for IoT. I put it in the behind the scenes chat there. Pete.
I can't see that. That's up there.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay. I'll put it in the. I'll put it in the.
I can see it. No,
I'll put it in the normal chat. But if you know Geeky Faye on Twitter and you follow her, they did or Geeky Faye Art, sorry. They did a chat on a podcast, and it's an IoT podcast. There's only about 20 episodes so far. But the thing I want to call it out for is because they're talking about how kind of the hardships and stuff like that of female in tech. I'm sure, Maria-Anastasia, you can attest to this as well. It's about how they're treated in the community, how they're treated by other developers. And, you know, I just think it's wrong, personally, as I'm sure those here do as well. But I'm not going to ruin it. Listen to it. It's a really good podcast to listen to. But this one kind of spoke out to me, and I see her tweets about it as well. So I wanted to just mention it as well.
Isn't she the one that made the bird that goes on her shoulder?
She makes all sorts of weird and wonderful things. Yeah. Yeah, she does make some cool stuff. Yeah, and she does some awesome 3D printing stuff. I'm forever looking at how she's done something, and then a message and say, "How do you manage that?" And I did this, and this. It's like, "Oh, right, brilliant." Yeah. And like that 3D print she did there. I was asking her some questions about that, what she used to design it, and she used Fusion 360, I think it was. So yeah, and just it's awesome to see cool people doing cool stuff with IoT and 3D printing and stuff like that. So I just thought it's the fact that she called out, being treated badly as a female in tech.
That dress is cool.
Was she has some awesome clothes and tops and stuff like that she wears with all sorts of geeky stuff all over. But yeah,
Great.
so yeah, but I thought I'd call it out because I think it's worth highlighting the fact that we should be nicer to everyone in the community.
Yeah, you're right. I'm really lucky to be part of, I mean, not a huge part, but part of the Nottingham tech community. I know I run 3 meetups around this area and 2 in Nottingham, so I count myself as being part of it. But we've got an awesome women in tech community, and it's only a banner women in tech over the top of all of the different marginalised parts of the community.
Yeah.
They do, the Nottingham tech community do a fantastic job of making sure that it's a really inclusive community. So it's well worth checking certainly women in tech out if that's what you like, but also the rest of that whole Tech Nottingham community is awesome. So proud to be a part of that community. So yeah, cool. Right, look, it's now 12 in Rhodes. So thank you so much, everybody, for coming along. Thanks, Cliff and Maria-Anastasia, for coming along as always. We're not, at least I can tell you, we're not here. I'm not here at least next week, but I kind of do the streaming. So that means that none of us are here next week because it's half term. Cliff, I don't know, what are you intending to not be here the week after, because that's your half term, isn't it?
Next week, the week after I should be. The first week in November I won't be.
Right,
that makes sense. My kids are their half term is different to most other schools for some odd reason.
Right.
Yeah, there you go. We need IoT in Bristol. Yeah, start a meetup then, Carl, and you'll have it. That's the one way to get IoT in Bristol.
I'll be passing Bristol on Friday. This Friday coming, in fact. I'll wave as I go past. Actually, I'll probably wave as I'm stuck trying to get around Bristol on the M4 or whatever it is. It takes you past Bristol down there. It's a nightmare. Try and get past that so we can get to Devon. So, yeah. Thank you very much, everybody. And Maria-Anastasia, were you just about to say something and I interrupted you rudely? Sorry.
Yeah, I would like to tell a happy birthday to my mommy because
happy birthday.
It's 13. It's the
it's the day now.
Yeah. So happy birthday, mommy.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Maria-Anastasia's mom.
No.
Awesome.
And just before we go, I just want to call out as well, tomorrow night at 8:00 we'll be streaming the build of the Sling. So come and see us, hopefully not break anything, but hopefully build a bit more of the aircraft. It'll be me and Chris tomorrow night at 8:00.
Don't break yourself. Yeah, don't break yourself. Don't break yourself, Cliff. It seems as though, there's a lot of breakages happening, so be careful with yourself.
Yeah, I'll try not to.
All right. See you all probably in a couple of weeks. And have fun. Be good. See you later.
Bye.
See if I can actually stop the stream now. See you later.